morning. So it's Easter Monday morning. And just like there were 8 days of Passover, there are 8 days of Easter. There's something about 8 days that our week has 7 days, but an 8th day goes beyond the normal measure of the week. And I think this can be connected with the psalm which says, "My cup overflows." Sometimes our cup seems to overflow with difficulties and miseries and sufferings. But here, it's overflowing with joy. Overflowing with a fullness we could never have anticipated. And so we have 8 days of octave of Easter. We celebrate these 8 days as if they were one day, are the same level of intensity each day, with the fullness of Easter joy. And the Easter event took a lot of digesting, and they chewed on it from many sides. And the first part of the Easter event is personal experience. And then the next part is witness. And the next part is pondering. And then living the mystery and its consequences. And there are even little hints of it in nature. When you see a seed that's and doesn't look anything. People aren't going to take a risk to turn off the Wi-Fi, and if you get cut off, just be patient with me, forgive me, and come back in. I forgot to turn off the Wi-Fi. We have even more people now than we had when I turned off the Wi-Fi, so but maybe some people still got cut out and had to come back in. So, these trees come from a seed, and if you look at a seed doesn't look at all like a tree. It just has enough in there to produce the whole tree. Not just a plant, but all the life resource that then needs to be triggered by temperature and soil and water, moisture. And with the right combination of circumstances, it comes back to life. But the seed in itself dies. And so there's the process of that dying and giving new life. And I'm sure there are many more examples in nature that we'd need to look into. My little experience in the farm as a child, watching and helping to sow potatoes, and then harvesting them some months later and finding the skin of the old potato I had sown totally consumed, and all the skin was gone, blackish brown, was like completely exhausted. its color, its content, its food resource, completely gone into the new potato plant. And here we have some of the steps that I mentioned earlier in the readings today, especially the pondering part. And it's based on the scriptures that those who had an experience started to reflect upon. But before we get there, we also have in today's gospel an experience moment, and that's with somebody from here in Magdala, Mary of Magdala. And she knew this mountain, and she knew this lake. That's part of the magic of pilgrimage, coming to the places where the events happened, where the people came from. There we have the northern cliffs of Mount Arbel. And this was all part of the landscape. Nobody moved the Golan Heights, they're still there. On clear days, she could see Mount Hermon. There's a boat waiting for you over here, very well. So the story we have here from Mary Magdalene is Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went away quickly from the tomb, fearful yet overjoyed. Fearful yet overjoyed. These are experiences, the mixed experience of human life, also in front of great happenings. Something that rocks our boat that we can't control. But overjoyed because the disaster of Good Friday, that's the only way they could have called Good Friday in their immediate experience, was a disaster. It took a while to get around to calling it Good Friday. Filled with joy that Jesus was alive. They had met him. I wonder what's going on here. Somebody has made this mound and anchored the boat here with a lock even. That's interesting. Quite a serious operation. Obviously for all the children probably that were here swimming, in a safe area. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went away quickly from the tomb, the speed that they're going with. And they ran to announce the news to his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them on their way and greeted them. They approached him, embraced his feet, and did him homage. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go tell my brethren to go to Galilee. There they will see me." And since then, waves and waves and waves of people have come to Galilee. to ask for the grace of an encounter with the risen Lord. And when you have this first experience, then there's a whole lot to process afterwards. A lot of memories, a lot of thoughts. And then there's help in the scriptures. And what we see today in the first reading, pronounced by Peter at Pentecost, is a quotation from the psalm that we have following the reading. A long quotation. And we see then how their minds were working. Psalm 16. So Peter, and by the time of Pentecost, we're talking about 50 days of pondering and reflection, plus many other things that happened during those 50 days, like the catch of the 153 fish, Jesus appearing on the shore here in Galilee, the encounters with Jesus, the questions they would have asked him, his numerous appearances to them. But one of the, let's say, experiences for me reading this is the incredible transformation of Peter. His heart was filled with rocks of difficulty, and now he is passionate with a whole forest of thought and emotion and strength. It's not just words coming from his heart. It has such a power of conviction that will finally grow to his own crucifixion. There's a huge transformation going on in all these disciples. And a very interesting historical note that Peter mentions is how David's tomb is still in their presence. They can go and check it out and it's empty. Sorry, he's buried there. And there's a big dispute about where David's tomb is now. Tradition says it's in a building called David's Tomb at Mount Zion, at the upper room. But historically, that's actually a Crusader construction. And it's on the eastern hill, according to the biblical information. He's buried on the eastern hill in Jerusalem, which means the Mount of Olives. So he's appealing to the people to open their eyes and to see David's tomb. And David, nevertheless, prophesied that his son would sit on the throne forever and his body would not see corruption. So now let's look at the language of the psalm. Nor did his flesh see corruption. He foresaw and spoke of the resurrection of the Christ, that neither was he abandoned to the netherworld, nor did his flesh see corruption. And these are the verses of the psalm. I say to my Lord are you, O God, my allotted portion and my cup. I set the Lord ever before me, with him at my right hand I shall not be disturbed. Therefore my heart is glad, and my soul rejoices. My body too abides in confidence, because you will not abandon my soul to the netherworld, nor will you suffer your faithful one to undergo corruption. You will show me the path to life, fullness of joys in your presence, the delights at your right hand forever. And so then there's the experience that Peter had, like Mary Magdalene has. There's the reference to the scriptures. There's a whole process of pondering. They have to adjust their whole mindset to integrate this new experience into their lives, and much more to integrate their lives into this new experience of the risen Lord. And that whole process of pondering is necessary for us. to ponder the impact of the resurrection in our lives, in our experience of reception of the faith of the resurrection, our pondering of the scriptures, our hearing the witnesses, the stories that other people have experienced. Like even for us nowadays to hear that in France on Holy Saturday night, about 18,000 people were received into the Catholic Church, adults. They're thinking people, they're learned people, they're working people, and the majority were young people with tremendous drive. And in a very secular culture, where there aren't any external benefits from being Christian, their heart and soul longs for this. And that's a witness for us today, to see those young people doing this. And then there are counter witnesses at work. And that's also straight out in the gospel story, because there are vested interests in status quo. And that battle goes on in our own hearts. We have a hard time dealing with a change of life, a change of renewal, because we're kind of stuck in our old ways of thinking. And renewal is a process that's going on all the time. Our circumstances are changing. And then some things are minor and smaller and they're easier to deal with, and other things are not. And sometimes we can force our way. Just read the gospel story. We think we can buy our way out of the truth. We think we can lobby interests to support our positions that are now no longer tenable. A big transformation is ongoing. New growth is developing. People, happy Easter. May your lives be transformed, and not just with all your little strings trying to cling on to a status quo that doesn't have a future. People, God bless you. May your hearts be filled with joy, even if there's a tingle of fear about the changes of all that are happening in front of us in our own lives, in the situation in which we are in at the deepest levels. God bless you. I'm trying to see where this is with the light here. Here we go. Happy Easter, people. May your hearts be filled with joy.